What book surprises you that it was nominated for an award but didn't win it? Hello. Welcome to I Love Reading, a channel about interesting book-related subreddit topics. If you love our content, smash that like button and subscribe to our channel. Note: books mentioned throughout this video can be accessed through the links below. Oh, and if you're not a member of Audible, which by far is the biggest audiobooks online store, pause the video, head over to the description box, click on the link provided, and choose any audiobook that will be mentioned, plus 2 other Audible originals from a collection of more than 200,000 audiobooks. Completely for free. Now let's get started. Feel free to add why you feel it should have won, if you read the book that won some award and agreed or disagreed, etc. For me, it's Ninafox Gambit by Yoon-Ha Lee. It's hands down one of the best, most imaginative sci-fi books I've ever read. People have to believe in physics and math like they believe in religion. Otherwise, physics starts to be altered to fit their beliefs. It's also full of exceptional characters and had me on the edge of my seat. I wouldn't recommend if you don't already like science fiction though. It was nominated for the Nebula, Hugo, and Clark Awards, but did not win any of them. I read the Nebula winner for that year, All the Birds in the Sky, by Charlie Jane Anders, and couldn't even finish it because it was so bad. These awards are often decided by a jury of a handful of people, and so sometimes they just don't get it right. Like the absurd decision by the Booker jury to split the prize this year, even though literally their only job was to pick one winner from the shortlist. And yet, instead of letting the first black woman winner have her moment, they made her share it with Margaret Atwood, whose book, The Testaments, was nowhere near as good as the novel she previously won for. Juries aren't faultless, they're just people. I remember back in the early 2010s, I think it was, when the Pulitzer Prize jury just decided not to hand out an award that year. That's gotta be a slap in the face to all those writers. It's one thing to lose to someone else. I could accept that graciously. But it's quite another thing entirely to be told that none of the books nominated that year were good enough to win. I was surprised that the Pulitzer Advisory Board pulled the 74 award rather than give it to Pynchon for Gravity's Rainbow. Very petty and makes me wonder whether they were pressured to do so. They've opted not to give out the award several times. Most recently was 2012, when the nominations were Train Dreams by Dennis Johnson, Swamplandia by Karen Russell, and The Pale King by David Foster Wallace. What was their reasoning in that instance? There was a 3-person jury which nominated those 3 books out of a pool of 300 to be judged by the Pulitzer panel. The panel opted not to give out the award that year, and to my knowledge, they have never voiced a reason as to why. Presumably, they didn't think any of the nominations were worthy. 2 of the 3 jurors who made the nominations have broken their silence, condemning the decision. That's quite an interesting question. What awards are there in the literary world except for the Pulitzer? The Man Booker, the Nobel, of course, the National Book Award, and the Bram Stoker are the only other ones I know of, other than the Pulitzer. I'm sure there are many more though. There are lots of localized ones, too. There are a few Canadian ones, I'm sure there are British and Australian ones as well. If there was one author who deserved the Nobel Prize for Literature but didn't win, I think it's Jorge Luis Borges. I'm ashamed to say that today I learned there is a Nobel for Literature. Worth mentioning that the Nobel goes to authors rather than to works. It is possible to win it years after your last publication, and it applies to your body of work rather than any particular piece. Mongrels by Stephen Graham Jones was nominated for both the Bram Stoker Award and the Shirley Jackson Award. The Fisherman by John Langan won the Bram Stoker, which was, okay, fair. But I did not finish the book that won the Shirley Jackson. The Girls by Emma Cline. It wasn't bad, just kind of slow and boring. I haven't read any of the other nominees for the 2017 Bailey's Women's Prize, but I can't even begin to believe that they were worse than The Power. I thought also that Harvest was better than The Luminaries, but I guess I can see how this one is a matter of taste. How did this year's Booker Prize panel not give the award to Night Boat to Tangier? I mean, I'm as sorry as the next soul that Atwood lost her husband the month before the award was announced, but the Booker should go to someone whose work was exemplary in a good, not a cautionary, sense. Barry's novel was a beautiful expansion on the style he's already established, makes the bonds of love and the chains of family its subject, and does so while entertaining the reader. Atwood wrote a terrific Aunt Lydia novella and wrapped 2 gunky, splodgy short stories around it. Evaristo's work, while sound, isn't particularly inspiring in Girl, Woman, Other. and Barry wrote his very best work to date. Every year, I'm impressed that the Hugo Awards manage to nominate a pretty good roster of both bigger titles and independent comics in their graphic novels category. But for the last 3 years, I have been pretty disappointed when Monstrous by Marjorie Liu won every time, despite it, in my opinion, not being a particularly standout example of a graphic or fantasy novel other than Sana Takita's beautiful art. The Vision, Paper Girls, On a Sunbeam, Black Panther, all are books I would have chosen over Monstrous. Cormac McCarthy's The Road was nominated for the Nobel Prize but didn't get it somehow. I mean, it did win every other award available for it to get, but for some reason, the judges decided it wasn't worthy of the Nobel. You must be thinking of a different award. Individual books aren't nominated for the Nobel, and the Nobel Committee doesn't name the authors they've considered for the award until a period of 50 years has passed. There you have it. Books that surprised Redditors that despite being nominated for awards, they didn't win. Thank you for watching till the end. Before you leave, do me a huge favor and remember to subscribe to I Love Reading if you have not already. Lastly, press the bell icon to get notified immediately I release new content. See you on the next video.